Morning. Hello. I had to get something done in the back. I have my pot's a little bit too full. I should let some water out. Might be okay though. I'm just gonna leave it. Just gonna do some warm up. I should do some baking now. Yes. Let me tell you of the story of Roland Pied and the Oven Blade. There once was a young man named Roland Pied who played the recorder when he wasn't baking bagels. One day he was walking through a park and playing his recorder for a while, to rest a while from all his baking, when suddenly he spied a corpse lying on the ground beneath a swarm of flies. He put down his recorder, walked over to the corpse, shooed the flies away, and covered the dead man with stones. Returning to his oven later that day, he found that his oven blade had gone on by itself and already baked half the bagels he needed. From that day on, Roland Pied was the happiest baker alive. He would bake until he was tired, then he'd pull his recorder out of his pocket while his oven blade went on by itself. But Roland Pied lived in a town whose mayor did not admire his skill and was jealous of his fame. So the mayor devised a plan to rid the town of Roland. In the beginning, he said that Roland was a good worker, but lazy. Next, he said that Roland baked a whole lot, but badly. Then he accused Roland of being a sorcerer, and the people turned on him. So Roland Pied therefore took his recorder and left his home behind. When Roland Pied came to a neighboring town, he went to all the business owners, but none of them would give him any work. Finally, he met an old busker and asked him for work to keep body and mind together. "Come along with me," said the old man, "and we will share alms." So Roland Pied and the old man started going around and singing, "Baker, why do you bear those silent things? Baker, how did you forget to stand where your feet are? Baker, no woman loves your wealth, although it is golden and good for her health. Baker, you are too dirty for a lover to wish to preen. Your limbs are the knots and cords of an old-fashioned machine. Baker, line the rings and bash the boards. You don't need their applause for a thing that is yours. You are a baker and are what you are, not by a miracle, but by the work of your arms. Baker, stand where your feet are." Everybody gave alms to the old man, but to Roland they said, "What is a young man like you out begging? Why don't you work for a living?" "Nobody will hire me," replied Roland Pied. "That's what you say. There is a king with so many hungry soldiers that he will pay good wages to anyone willing to feed them." So Roland Pied went to the king's kitchen and took the old man whose alms he'd been sharing. The oven had never been used by anyone. Roland Pied mixed the dough, then he rolled it into rings, then he boiled them, dressed them with seeds, then he baked them until they were golden brown. Then he tossed them into a crate to cool down. Whenever Roland wearied of baking, he would play his recorder. And once he was weary of playing his recorder, he'd sing, "Baker, why do you bear those silent things? Baker, how did you forget to stand where your feet are? Baker, no woman loves your wealth, although it is golden and good for her health. Baker, you are too dirty for a lover to wish to preen. Your limbs are the knots and cords of an old-fashioned machine. Baker, line the rings and bash the boards. You don't need their applause for a thing that is yours. You are a baker and are what you are, not by a miracle, but by the work of your arms. Baker, be who you are." Hearing the singing, a princess looked out the window. She saw Roland Pied and fell in love with him. But she was a princess, and he a baker. The king would never consent to their marriage. So they decided to run away together. They fled at night on a boat. When they were already on the high seas, Roland Pide remembered the busker, and he said to his beloved, "We must fetch the old man. Since he shared his alms with me, we can't go off and leave him like that." At that very moment, the old man came up behind the boat, walking on the water as though it had been dry land. Reaching the boat, he said, "We agreed to share everything we had, and I shared everything I owned. Now you have the king's daughter and must give half of her to me." At that, he gave Roland Pide a knife to cut his bride in half. Roland Pide took the knife with a trembling hand. "You are right," he said. "You are perfectly right." He was on the point of cutting his bride in half. When suddenly the old man stopped him. "Stop! I knew you were a just man. I am the dead man, mind you, whom you buried with stones. Go now, and may the two of you always be happy." The old man walked away on the waves. The boat came to an island rich in all good things, with a princely palace awaiting the newlyweds. That story is a parable about our ancestors. The dead man represents our ancestor. Roland Pide treats the ancestor with respect by burying him. And the ancestor is resurrected as a busker that shows Roland Pide how to earn a living and how to get a woman. And we owe our ancestors a huge deal. We take it for granted. That's what that story is about. Roland Pide doesn't take it for granted, though. He knows how important ancestors are. Right, Roland Pide? Hamlin Towns in Brunswick, my famous Hanover city. The river Weser, deep and wide, washes its wall on the southern side. A pleasanter spot you've never spied. But when begins my ditty, almost 500 years ago, to see the townsfolk suffer so from vermin was a pity. Rats, they fought the dogs and killed the cats and bit the babies in the cradles and ate the cheeses from the vats and licked the soup from the cook's own ladles, split open the kegs of salted sprats, made nests the men's Sunday hats, and even spoiled the women's chats by drowning out their speaking with shrieking and squeaking in 50 different sharps and flats. Alas, the people in a body to the town hall came flocking. "'Tis clear," cried they, "our mayor is a naughty, and as for our corporation, shocking to think we buy gowns lined with ermine, for don'ts who can't or won't determine what's best to rid us of our vermin. You hope because you're old and obese to find in the furry civic robes ease. Rouse up, sirs, give your brains a racking to find the remedy we are lacking, or sure as fate will send you packing." At this, the mayor and corporation quaked with a mighty consternation. An hour they sat in council. At length the mayor broke silence. "For a guilder I'd my ermine gown sell. I wish I were a mile hence. It's easy to bid one rack one's brain. I'm sure my poor head aches again. I'd scratch it so, but all in vain. Oh, for a trap, a trap, a trap." Just as he said this, what should hap? At the chamber door but a gentle tap. "Bless us," cried the mayor, "what's that?" With the corporation as he sat, looking little to wondrous fat, nor brighter were his eyes, nor moister than a too long opened oyster, save when at noon his paunch grew mutinous, for a plate of turtle green and glutinous. Only a scraping of shoes on a mat, anything like the sound of a rat makes my heart go bit mad. "Come in," cried the mayor, looking bigger, and did come the strangest figure. His long queer coat revealed head was half yellow and half red, and he himself was tall and thin, with sharp blue eyes, each like a pin, and light loose hair and swarthy skin, nor tuft of hair on cheek, nor beard on chin, but lips or smile went out and in. There was no guessing his kith or kin, and nobody could enough admire this tall man in his quaint attire. Quoth one, "It's as my great-grandsire, starting up at the trumpet blues tone, had walked this way from his painted tombstone." He advanced towards the council table. "Please, your honor," said he, "I am able, by means of secret charm to draw all the creatures living beneath the sun. They crawl or swim or fly or run after me so as you never saw. And I chiefly use my charm on creatures that do people harm, the mole, the toad, and newt and viper. And people call me the Pied Piper." And here they noticed round his neck a scarf of red and yellow stripe to match with his coat of self-same check. And that scarf's end of the pipe. His fingers, they noticed, were ever straying, as if impatient to be played, upon this pipe, as low it dangled, over his vegetable clothes tangled. "Yes," said he, "Pied Piper as I am, in Tartary I fled the Cam, last June from his huge swarms of gnats. I eased in Asia the Nizam of a monstrous brood of vampire bats. And as for what your brain bewilders, if I rid your town of rats, will you give me 1,000 guilders?" 50,000 was the exclamation of astonished mayor and corporation. Into the street the piper stepped, smiling first a little smile, as if he knew what magic slept in his quiet pipe the while. Like a musical adept to blow his pipe, his lips he wrinkled, and green and blue his sharp eyes twinkled, like a candle flame where salt is sprinkled. And ere 3 shrill notes the pipe uttered, you heard as if an army muttered, and a muttering grew to a grumbling, and a grumbling grew to a mighty rumbling, and out of the houses came the rats tumbling. Great rats, small rats, lean rats, brawny rats, brown rats, black rats, gray rats, tawny rats, grave old plotters, gay young friskers, fathers, mothers, uncles, cousins, cocking tails and pricking whiskers, families by tens and dozens, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, followed the Pied Piper for their lives. From street to street he piped advancing, and step for step they followed dancing, until they came to the river Weser, wherein all plunged and perished, save one who, stout as Julius Caesar, swam across and lived to carry, as he the manuscript he cherished, to Ratland home his commentary, which was, after shrill notes of the pipe, I heard a sound as of scraping tripe, a putting apples wondrous ripe into the cider presses gripe, and a moving away of pickle tub boards, leaving a jar of concert cupboards, and drawing the corks of train oil flasks, and the breaking hoops of butter casks. It seemed as if a voice sweeter far than my heart and my salaries breathe, called out, "Oh, rats, rejoice! The world has grown to a vast dry saltery. So munch on, crunch on, tinker nunch on, breakfast, supper, dinner, lunch on, and just a bulky sugar punch on, already staved like a great sun shone. Gracious scarce an inch before me, just as methought its head come before me, I found the Weser rolling over me." You should have heard the Hamlin people ring the bells as they rocked the steeple. Go, cried the mayor, and get long poles, poke at the nest and block the holes. Consult with carpenters and builders, and leaving our town not even a trace for the rats, when suddenly up the face the piper perked in the marketplace. The first, if you please, my 1,000 guilders. 1,000 guilders. The mayor looked blue, so did the corporation too, for council dinners made rare havoc with claret, moselle, vin de grave hawk, and half the money would replenish their cellars big as butt of Rhenish, to pay the sum to a wondering fellow, with gypsy coat of red and yellow. Besides, quoth Mayor with a knowing wink, our business was done at the river's brink. We saw with our eyes the vermin sink, and what's dead can't come to life, I think. So, friend, we're not folks to shrink from our duty of giving you something to drink, and a matter of money to put in your poke. But as for the guilders, what we spoke of them, as you well know, wasn't joke. Besides, their losses have made us thrifty. 1,000 guilders, come take 50. The piper's face fell, and he cried, no trifling, I can't wait beside. I promise a visit by dinner time, Baghdad, except the prime and the head cook's pottage. All he's rich in, having left in the Caliph's kitchen, of a nest of scorpions, no survivor. With him I prove no bargain driver. With you don't think I'll bait a stiver. And folks who put me in a passion may find me pipe after another fashion. How, cried the mayor, do you think I brook, being worse treated than a cook, insulted by a rival, with idle pipe and vesture piebald? Threaten us, fellow, do your worst, blow your pipe there till you burst. Once more he stepped into the street, and to his lips again laid his long pipe to smooth straight cane. And there he blew 3 notes, such sweet soft notes as if musicians cunning never gave in rapid air. There was a rustling that seemed like a bustling, a merry crowd adjusting and pitching and hustling, small feet were pattering, wooden shoes clattering, little hands clapping, and little tongues chattering, and like foals in the farmyard when barley is scattering, out came the children running, all the little boys and girls, with rosy cheeks and flaxen curls, and sparkling eyes and teeth like pearls, tripping and skipping round merrily after, the wonderful music with shouting and laughter. The mayor was dumb, and the council stood as if they're changed into blocks of wood, unable to move a step or cry, till the children merrily skipping by could only follow with an eye that joyous crowd at the piper's back, and how the mayor was on the rack, and the wretched council's bosoms beat as the piper turned from the high street to where the western rolled its waters, right in the wave of their sons and daughters. However, he turned from south to west, and to Copperberg Hill his steps addressed, and after him the children pressed. Great was the joy in every breast. He never can cross the mighty top, he's forced to let the piping drop, and we shall see our children stop. When lo, they reached the mountainside, a wondrous portal opened wide, as if a cavern was suddenly hollowed. The piper advanced, and the children followed. And when all were in to the very last, the door in the mountainside shut fast. Did I say all? No one was lame, and could not dance the whole of the way. And in after years, if you would blame his sadness, he was used to say, is dull in our town since my playmates left. I can't forget that I'm bereft of all the pleasant sights they see, which the piper also promised me. For he led us, he said, to a joyous land, joining the town in jest at hand, where waters gushed and fruit trees grew, and flowers before us a fairer hue, and everything was strange and new. The sparrow was bred a peacock here, and her dogs are around our fellow deer, and honeybees had lost their stings, and horses were born with eagle's wings. And just as I became assured, my lame foot be speedily cured, the music stopped, and I stood still, and found myself outside the hill, left behind against my will, to go now limping as before, and never hear of that country more. Alas, alas for Hamelin, there came into many a burgher's gate a text which says at heaven's gate, opes the rich at his easy rate, as a needle's eye takes a camel in. The mayor sent east, west, north, and south to offer the piper by word of mouth, wherever was men's lot to find him, silver and gold to his heart's content, if only he'd return the way he went, and bring the children behind him. But when they saw 'twas lost endeavor, and piper and dancers were gone forever, they made a decree that lawyers never should think their records dated duly, if after the day of the month and year, these words do not as well appear. And so long after what happened here on the 22nd of July, 1376, in the better memory to fix the place of the children's last retreat, they called it the Pied Piper Street, where anyone playing pipe or tabor was sure for his future lose his labor, nor suffered a hospital or tavern, shocked with mirth the street so solemn. And opposite the place of the cavern, they wrote the story on a column, and on great church window painted, saying to make the world acquainted how their children were stolen away, and there it stands this very day. And I must not admit to say, in Transylvania there is a tribe of alien people who ascribe the way and dress of which their neighbors lay such stress to their fathers and mothers having risen out of some subterranean prison into which they were to pan a long time ago in a mighty band out of Hamlin towns and Brunswick land. But how or why they don't understand. So, Lily, let me and you be wipers of scores out with all men, especially pipers. And if they should pipe us free from rats or from mice, if we promise them aught, let us keep our promise. Pied Piper of Hamelin by Robert Browning is a parable that represents it's sort of a conversation that the poet is having with another text, which is Plato's Republic. There's quite a few themes that are being traced in the poem. They're being traced out in the poem. One of them is the democratic man against the tyrannical man, or oligarchical. Well, I don't know. The Marissa represents, I think he represents a tyrannical man. The corporation and council is sort of an oligarchy that sort of supports tyranny. And the Pied Piper represents the democratic man. So well, in Plato's Republic, he argued that the democratic man becomes. I think he was arguing that the democratic man usually becomes tyrannical. No, it goes The oligarchical man becomes tyrannical. And then democracy needs to be restored somehow. I'm a little confused about it. I need to read the book. Anyways, the Pied Piper represents a democratic man. I think that Robert Browning really idealizes the democratic personality of the Pied Piper. He shows that it's quite exceptional and based on merit rather than the acquisition of capital. The democratic man must be talented, knowledgeable, sincere, and must get paid. The democratic man solves the actual problems that oligarchies and tyrannies cause, which is inequality and the unfair distribution of taxes. The unfair distribution of taxes. The mayor in the Pied Piper of Hamelin is an embezzler. He's stealing from the people. He's enormously corrupt. And obnoxiously insincere. He reminds me of somebody. My first thought was he lied in every word, that hoary cripple with malicious eye. Askins to watch the working of his lie on mine, at most scarce able to afford suppression of the glee, the person scored its edge at one more victim gained thereby. What else should he be set for with his staff? What saved the waylay with his lies and snare? All travelers who fight might find him posted there. And asked the road, I guessed what skull-like laugh would break, what crunch can write my epitaph or pastime in the dusty thoroughfare. If at his counsel I should turn aside and do ominous track which all agree hides the dark tower, yet acquiescingly I'd turn as he pointed, neither pride nor hope of kindling at the end descried, so much as gladness some end might be. For what with my whole world wide wondering, what with my search drawn out through years, my hope dwindled into a ghost now fit to cope with that obstreperous joy success would bring. I hardly tried now to rebuke the spring my heart made, finding failure in its scope. As a sick man very near to death seems dead indeed, and feels begin and end the tears, and takes the farewell of each friend, and hears one bid the other go, draw breath freely outside, since all is over, he saith, and the blow fallen no grieving can amend. while some discuss if near the graves be room enough for this, and when a day suits best for carrying the corpse away, with care about banners, scarfs, and staves. And still the man hears all and only craves, he may not shame such tender love and stay. Thus I had for so long suffered in this quest, heard failure prophesied so oft being writ, so many times among the band to wit. The knights who to dark tower search and dress their steps, that just to fail as they seem best, and all doubt was now should I be fit. So quiet as despair I turned from him, the hateful cripple, out of his highway into the path he pointed. All the day had been a dreary one at best, and dim was settling into its close, yet shot one grim red leer to see the plain catch its stray. It's going well. How are you? I'm doing well. How's Haro 85? Haro? Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, I suppose I am. I don't really put a lot of thought into New Year's things or resolutions. The years just sort of blend together nowadays, so it's not like a significant milestone or anything. I don't know. Yeah, one day, just one day. I'm not sure. I think I'm working one of the days, either tomorrow or the first. I'm not sure. How's Australia? Australia. I want to visit Australia. Oh, yeah. I don't really do New Year's resolutions. I don't do anything that's really unhealthy. Like I don't club or drink or. Oh yeah, I have a pretty good memory. I have a pretty good memory. Yeah, that is you did sort of tip that. I know you're from Australia though. I remember that you're from Australia. I have a good memory. As you might be aware of. So, Steve, tell me what's new with you. Not a lot. I'm working a lot. We opened a new store in Surrey, which is like a suburb of Vancouver, or I don't know. I don't know if it's an actual. I guess it's a separate city, but. So yeah, we just opened a new store, so busy with that. Training new bakers. I don't know. Yeah, thanks. I don't do much to keep my appearances up. I swim once or twice a week. Sometimes go for a run once in a while. Yeah, I'd love to visit Australia. I don't think I have enough money right now. My next vacation is going to be to Montreal. I can go to the birthplace of the Montreal bagel. Oh, I put in the wrong match here. That's my next vacation is Montreal. Oh yeah. Yeah. If you want, I'll let you know when I get the ticket. I'm thinking April. April or 12th. Yeah, I don't know Montreal at all. I've never been to Montreal, so I wouldn't be a very good guide. But I've heard it's a great city to visit. So. The other thing is I don't speak any French. I'm a really poor representative of our bilingualism here in Canada. So I know a tiny amount of Spanish, and that's all. That's all I know. But I've heard that you can get by in Montreal without knowing French. I don't know what to say to that. Yeah, I guess so. Coffee. I guess I should change my gloves now. Oh, that's nice. Thanks. Well, I'm always here. Well, not always, I guess, but I've been doing some Twitch broadcasting lately, but that's not going so well. Nobody's interested in what I'm doing, so or I don't stream long enough. A lot of those guys on Twitch are streaming like 10 hours a day. Oh, nice. If only you didn't live in Australia, hey? I don't think I give that. Oh, that's nice. I don't think I produce that feeling in many people, so it's nice to know that I give that feeling to some people, I guess. So. But I think I'm gonna stop pretty soon. Oh, thanks. Thanks for all the kind words. Oh, thank you. Well, thank you. Happy New Year to you. I hope you enjoy your Australian New Year. I think you guys get it before we do. So you'll have a New Year before we do, I think. If I'm not mistaken about that. Thank you. You have a great day. Thank you. Oh, wow. 12 hours. Holy. I probably won't have to do 12 hours today, but I'm gonna do 8, I think. 8. Wow. What are you a nurse or something? I don't remember if you told me what you do. Those seem like nurse hours. Or doctor hours or something. Nurse, doctor, paramedic. Oh. Oh, barman. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that makes sense too. Yeah. Nice. Bagels. Serving bagels and serving beer. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Have a great year. I don't use WhatsApp. I'm not much for social media. This is pretty much the only place you can contact me. I guess I'm on Instagram too. If you want, you can look up me on Instagram, I guess. I'll probably never ever use WhatsApp, so. Oh, I don't use I don't have Facebook. I abandoned Facebook. I hate Facebook. I have a fear and a hatred of Facebook. So I do Periscope and Instagram, and I hardly ever use Instagram. Sort of sad. I don't do social media very well. Yeah, you can DM me maybe. I don't know. I guess I haven't. I don't know if I followed you or whatever. Yeah, you'll have to DM me or something. I don't know. Oh wow. Okay. I'll have to look at my thingers or whatever. I'll look at that later. I'll have to do it later. My first thought was he lied in every word, that hoary cripple with malicious eye, askance to watch the working of his lie on mine, and mouth scarce able to afford suppression of the gleed, and personally scored its edge at one more victim gave thereby. What else should he be set for with his staff? What saved the waylay with his lies and snare? All travelers whom I find the post there, and asked, I guess what skull like laugh with grit, or crutch can write my epitaph for pastime in the dusty thoroughfare. If at his counsel I should turn aside into ominous track, Joel Gree hides the dark tower, yet acquiescingly at a turn as he pointed, neither pride nor hope rekindling at the end descried, so much as gladness some end might be. For what with my whole world wide wandering, what with my search drawn out through years, my hope dwindled into a ghost not fit to cope with that obstreperous joy success would bring. I hardly tried now to rebuke the spring my heartbeat, finding failure in its scope. As a sick man very near to death seems dead indeed, and feels begin and end the tears, and takes farewell of each friend, and hears one bid the other go, draw breath, freely or outside, since all is over, he saith, and the blow fallen no grieving can amend. While some discuss if near the graves be room enough for this, and when a day suits best for carrying the corpse away, with care about banners, scarfs, and staves, and still the man hears all and only craves, he may not shame to tender love and stay. Thus I had been long suffered in this quest, heard failure prophesied so oft be writ, so many times among the band to wit. The knights who to dark towers search address their steps, the just to fail as they seem best. And old doubt was now, should I be fit? So quiet as despair I turned from him, that hateful cripple, out of his highway into the path he pointed, all the day being a dreary one at best, and dim was settling into its close, yet shot one grim red near to see the plain catch the stray. For mark, no sooner was I fairly found, pledged the plain after pace or two, than pausing throw back with a last view, over the safe where 'twas gone, great plain all round, nothing but plain to the horizon's bound. I must go on, naught else remained to do. So on I went. I think I never saw such starved ignoble nature. Nothing throve, for flowers as well expect a cedar grove, but chortle and spurge according to their law, and propagate their kind with none to awe. You think a bird had been a treasure trove. No Penry and Nertness Ingramace in some strange sort were the land's portion. See or close your eyes, said nature peevishly, in nothing skills. I can't help my face. 'Tis last judgment's fire must cure this place. Calcine its clods and set my prisoners free. If there pushed any ragged thistle stalk above its mates, its head was chopped. The bents were jealous else. What made the holes and rents in the dog's harsh towards leaves? Bruised as to balk all hope of greenness. 'Tis a brute must walk, passion their life over brutes and pence. As for the grass, it grew as scarce as hair in leprosy. Thin, dry blades pricked the mud, which underneath was beaded up with blood. One stiff, blind horse, his every bone a stare, stood stupefied however he came there, thrust out past service from the devil's stud. Alive, he might be dead for aught I know, with red gaunt and callop neck astrain, and shut eyes beneath the rusty mane. Seldom went such grotesqueness with such woe. I never saw a brute I hated so. He must have been wicked to deserve such pain. I shut my eyes and turned them on my heart, as a man calls for wine before he fights. I asked one draught of earlier, happier sight. Every day I could hope to play the part. Think first, fight afterward, the soldier's art. One taste of all time sets all to rights. Not it. I fancied Cuthbert's red-leaf face beneath its garniture of curly gold. Dear fellow, till I almost felt him fold. An arm and mind fixed me to that place, that way he used. Alas, one night's disgrace. Oh, at my heart's new fire and left it cold. Giles, and the soul of honor, there he stands. Frank as 10 years ago when knighted first. An honest man should dare, he said he durst. Good, but the scene shifts. Thaw, what hangman's hand pinned to his breast a parchment. His own band reads it, poor traitor, spit upon and cursed. Better this present than a past like that. Back therefore to my darkening path. No sound, no sight as far as the eye can strain. Will the night send a howlet or a badass? When something on the dismal flat came to arrest my thoughts and change their train. A sudden ill river crossed my path, as unexpected as a serpent came. No tides congenial to the glooms. This as a frostbite might have been a bath, and fiends going hoof, to see the wrath of its black eddies be spat with flakes and spumes. So petty yet so spiteful, all along those scrubby alders kneeled over it. Drenched willows flung them headlong in a fit to rout despair. A suicidal throng, the river which had done them all wrong, whatever that was, rolled by, deterred no whit. Which while I forded, good saints, how I feared to set my foot upon a dead man's cheek. Each step or feel the spear I thrust to seek, for hollows tangled in his hair or beard. It may have been a water rat I speared, but ugh, it sounded like a baby's shriek. Glad was I to reach the other bank, now for a better country. Vain presage, who were the strugglers? What war did they wage? Whose savage trample could thus pad the dank soil to a plash? Toads in a poison tank, and wild cats in a red-hot cage. The fight must so have seemed in that foul surf. Penned them there with all the plain to choose. No footsteps leading to that horrid muse. None out of it. Mad druids set to work their brains, no doubt, like galley slaves Turk. Pits for his pastime, Christians and Jews. And more than that, a furlong on, why there, what bad use was that engine for? That wheel or brake, not wheel. That harrow fit to reel men's bodies out like silk. All the air of Coffin's tool, on earth left unaware, or brought to sharpen its rusty teeth of steel. Then came some stub ground, once in wood, next to march of the scene, now mere earth. Desperate and done with, so the fool finds worth, makes a thing and mars it, till his mood changes and off he goes, within a rude bog clay and march, sand and stark black dirt. Now blotches rankling, colored gay and grim, now patches burst and leanness at the soils, broken to moss of substances like oils. Then came a palsied oak, a cleft in him, a distorted mouth that splits its grin, gaping at death and dies while it recoils. As far as ever from the end, not in the distance but the evening knot, point my footsteps further at the thought, great black bird, Apollyon's bosom friend, sailed past to beat his wide wings dragon pen, that brushed my cap perchance as a guide I sought. For looking up and where I somehow grew, plain to give a place so round the mountains with such names and grace, mere heights and deeps now stolen in view. How thus they surprised me solving you, how to get from there was no clear case. Yet half I seemed to recognize some trick or mischief had happened to me, God knows when, in a bad dream perhaps. Here ended then progress this way, when in the very nick of giving up one more time came a click, as when the trap shuts you're in the den. Burningly it came upon me all at once. This was the place. Those two hills crouched like two bulls locked horn in fight, while to the left a tall scalp mountain, Dun's daughter to dozing at the very nunce after a lifetime of training for the sight. What in the midst lay but the tower itself, the round squat turret built of brown stone without a counterpart in the whole world. The tempest mocking elf points to the shipman thus, the unseen shelf he strikes on only when timbers start. Not see, when night, not see because of night perhaps, why day came back for that. Behind it left the dying sunset kindled through a cleft. The hills like two giants in the hunting lay, chin upon hand to see the game at bay. Now stab and end the creature to the heft. Not here, when noise was everywhere, it told, increasing like a bell, names in my ears, of lost adventurers, my peers, how such was strong and such was bold, and such was fortunate, yet each of old, lost one moment now the woe of years. There they stood, ranged along the hillside met, to view the last of me, a living frame, for one more picture in a sheet of flame. I saw them and knew them all, and yet, dauntless, a slughorn to my lips I set and blew, child rolling to a dark tower came. Hello. Hello, Tiffany. I gotta go now. Thanks, Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Yeah, I haven't been on here very much. I was using Twitch for a while. My coworker's coming in pretty soon. That's usually when I shut my stream down. Should be here pretty soon. I think they're a little bit late, but I'll probably be back tomorrow. Well, yeah, they're late. They should be here right now, actually. Happy Sunday to you. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. I'll probably be back on. I think I'm back on Tuesday, so I think I'm working New Year's Day. I was, anyways. I think they might have changed the schedule, but yeah. Merry Christmas. Yeah, I had okay holidays. I worked a lot during the holidays. We were busy over the holidays, so I didn't really go. I went home to visit my family in November, so yeah, in November I went to my family's. They live in Alberta, the province next door to BC.